Minnesota spoke a few moments ago talking about the pain, the hurting in the community. There is a lot of pain. There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of rage. Obviously, people are trying to see what the authorities are going to do, what the prosecutors are going to do about the police officers' actions. The National Guard has been activated. The Governor Walz signed an executive order activating the Minnesota National Guard, protecting peaceful demonstrations in a city where buildings have been ablaze, police station set on fire. And, this is not a time to try to advance an agenda. I don't know many people I don't know anybody who's seen that video and doesn't say, my gosh, why did that police officer do that to that man? What in the world could have compelled that police officer to keep his knee on that man's neck as he was struggling to breathe and begging for his life? It was sickening. And yet there are people who desperately want to, two things can be true. One is that this video is horrific and that justice must be served. There needs to be a thorough and robust investigation, as they said yesterday. And this family of the family of George Floyd is demanding justice. And if George Floyd were any of our loved ones, we would be demanding justice too. Can't even begin to believe the pain and the agony that they must feel. And for many, many people, there is a strong belief that if this act had not been caught on video, no one would have ever known about George Floyd, about the police officer, about any of it. But we need to resist this drive to advance an ideological agenda. Two things can be true. The death of this man is horrible. And I think I speak for almost all Americans who say that barring any kind of revelation that we're not aware of, this police officer needs to be arrested. There's got to be an accountability for what happened. But number two, the death of George Floyd shouldn't justify or warrant breaking down the windows of a Target and stealing TV sets or burning down buildings. That kind of anarchy, that kind of chaos should not be excused or defended, and it sure shouldn't be spun the way an MSNBC reporter tried to. Honest to goodness, if this weren't so tragic and sad, it would be comedy. Can you imagine standing in front of a burning building and trying to convince your viewers on a TV network that generally the people rioting are not unruly? Do you remember the clip in the late, great Leslie Nielsen? Boy, was he a funny guy. He was in the Naked Gun movies. Remember that? And there's a scene where he's standing in front of Armageddon. I mean, the world is coming to an end. He's saying, there's nothing, everything's fine. All is calm. People are jumping out of buildings and planes are crashing. It's all behind him, right? Well, that's all I could think of with this clip. Here's Ali Velshi on MSNBC. Now, mind you, he is literally standing in front of a burning building when he said this.
I want to be clear in how I characterize this. This is mostly a protest. It is not generally speaking unruly, but fires have been started, and there's a crowd that is relishing that. There is a deep sense of grievance and complaint here.
What? Generally not. How do you burn a building down if you're not being unruly? How do you break the windows of police cars if you're not unruly? How do you pummel a lady in a wheelchair and spray her with a fire extinguisher if you're not unruly? Generally, says MSNBC, they're not being unruly. These protesters, these rioters. Unbelievable. This isn't helping, and everybody knows it. And George Floyd's family, his girlfriend, everybody is begging Minnesotans to stop this. When the governor says our community is hurting beyond words, we all should share in that pain. But frankly, if you're not black, it's kind of hard to even feel the kind of pain that somebody could feel in watching that video. Now, we could debate whether race played a factor. There'll be an investigation that'll determine that. The police officer's record is going to come into play here, likely. But this is not okay. This is not okay. This is wrong. President was asked about it yesterday and made it very, very clear that the Attorney General is investigating. The Justice Department is on this. There will be a thorough reckoning, it seems to me. Here's what the president said yesterday when asked about it in the Oval Office.
But I feel very, very badly. It's a very shocking sight. Bill and I were talking about it before. It's one of the reasons Bill's here right now, because, as you know, we're very much involved. And I've asked the Attorney General, FBI, and the Attorney General to take a very strong look and to see what went on, because that was a very, very bad thing that I saw. I saw it last night, and I didn't like it.
1-800-655-MIKE, 800-655-6453 here in the ReliefFactor.com studios. Let's go to Mike. Mike, thanks for joining us today. How are you?
Oh, fantastic. Love your show. I just like to say I do a lot of social services work throughout my career. I've worked in prisons. I do a lot of volunteer work with disabled veterans, the Knights of Columbus, and I meet a lot of great people. But also I've seen is people that just hate. And everything bad in their life, they blame on either a white person, a black person, the police. And I think when something like this happens, they just come out of the woodwork, and they believe in their hearts that looting, they deserve whatever they get.
Mike, there are so many people who walk around with rage and with anger, and the contempt for police officers truly scares me. I admire law enforcement. We have, the Mike Gallagher Show Charitable Foundation assists the families of police officers who've been killed in the line of duty. We also publish something called the First Responders Bible. You go to Gallagher'sHeroes.org, which is the name of our foundation, Gallagher's Heroes. You can see the work we do. We deal with law enforcement every day. I get letters every day from family members. I mean, we told you this week about the law enforcement officer shot and killed in the line of duty in Grand Forks, North Dakota. I mean, Salt Lake City, another police shooting. Police officers' lives are on the line every day. There won't be any riots or protests over the police officer serving an eviction notice and being gunned down. There won't be any rallies or marches for the officer in Salt Lake City pulling over a speeder and getting shot in the face and killed. So they're hurting too. The police community is hurting over this issue. When you see this video and you see what happened to this man, police officers hurt too. Because every police officer that I've heard from or that I know says once a suspect is restrained and is not resisting, you get off their neck. You don't stay down there 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes, whatever in the world it was. It was wrong. It was crazy. It appears to be criminal. So there's a lot of pain right now. But you're right. So when you've got people already hating cops, I mean, it broke my heart. Somebody sent me a video today in Lower Manhattan, in the Wall Street area. A beautiful church defaced with F the NYPD in big red spray painted letters on the side of a church, a house of worship. The church didn't do anything to those people that were protesting, marching up and down Wall Street or wherever they were going. Vandalizing, what's that going to do? Do you think the Floyd family wants buildings burned or churches defaced or people shot and killed like somebody was killed earlier in the week? I mean, it's a bad situation. 1-800-655-MIKE.